Hi, I'm Paige Green, and I chose to do my management presentation on cultural shock. What is cultural shock? The feeling of disorientation experienced by someone who is suddenly subjected to an unfamiliar culture, way of life, or set of attitudes. This is basically someone who is thrown into a whole new culture from a whole new country and doesn't understand how to live in this country. Cultural shock can last anywhere from a few days to weeks or even months, depending on how long it takes for the person to actually adjust to the new culture. And cultural shock has 5 stages. The 5 stages of cultural shock. Stage 1 is the honeymoon stage. This is the most positive stage in cultural shock. This is where the traveler will feel very intrigued with all of their new surroundings. Unfamiliar people will be so exciting. The language and the food will all be very new. And during this stage, the decision to move may feel like the best decision one could have made because their new home feels so exciting. They may not miss home just yet. They may not miss wanting to be around familiar sightings. Stage 2 is the frustration stage. And during this stage, one becomes exhausted and overwhelmed with the new culture and all the things to be learned. It becomes so exhausting, it's so overwhelming to continuously have to learn new things, and miscommunications with others will be happening extremely often, and the person begins to lose patience very quickly. Once you start to mess up a couple of times, it starts to become really frustrating, and then you may feel like this was not a good decision to move to a new country. Stage 3 is the adjustment stage. In this stage, the anger and frustration begins to subside, and the traveler begins to become more familiar with the surroundings. And they begin to learn how to navigate and communicate with others in the area, and the languages have also become more familiar. So it's easier to live in this place now because they understand how to survive there. And the last stage is the acceptance stage. The traveler has accepted his or her new life by this stage. It has become much easier to enjoy the culture and get to know the people who live there. The person who has learned to become more in, the person has learned to become more independent and does not need much help meeting their needs. They don't need much help after this, and they feel better about their decision about being in a new culture. And they understand how to live. How are businesses affected by cultural shock? Businesses are very affected by cultural shock depending on how the person that you have sent out to travel feels about their new environment. Certain businesses are affected by cultural shock because many people are asked to travel around the country in order to help a business stay global or international. This helps a business kind of branch out, move different states, move different countries, help more people get to know their name. People must travel around the country in order to open a business in other parts of the world, and because of this, many people suffer from cultural shock. Either people are sent to other countries without being prepared for the new culture, or the business did not give the person proper tools or knowledge in order to understand how to survive. The person needs to understand how to survive in a new culture so they don't get burnt out and want to really regret the decision working for this business and try to travel. This causes problems because it can make a business seem as if they do not care to learn about the culture they are making a profit in. This can rub many people the wrong way because they want to give their money to a company that they feel actually cares for them and respects their culture. You want a company feels that makes people feel like you care about them and you care enough to learn about their culture in order to sell in their area. Cultural shock and the effects. Because cultural shock takes a serious toll on people, it affects their work ethic. Someone who isn't Someone who is sent to another country to do business while being unprepared for the cultural change may experience many of these feelings throughout their time in a new place. This will affect the customer's outlook on a global international company, as well as cause the employee to consider quitting. In this chart I have here, people who are introverted will begin to withdraw. They will oversleep. They only want now to go home. They have a very short attention span. They have a hard problem staying focused on the business. And they will decide to stay because they do not feel that leaving is right, but they will hate the country that they're in and everything about it. Extroverted people will become very aggressive, they'll excessive eat, they have exaggerated cleanliness, they'll have tension with the people that they are with, and they will have a lot of hostility towards the host country that they're in. They'll be very verbally aggressive. It's not good for somebody who is extroverted to be going through cultural shock while trying to do business. They will heavily consider quitting and possibly even leave the company. Solutions and recommendations for businesses before sending people into new countries to open their business. In order to deal with cultural shock, one must have the patience for themselves and the others around them while in a new environment. Before traveling to a new place for work, the traveler must put in the effort to educate themselves on the culture that they will have to adapt to. Learning important words in the language, being prepared for the new food, and learn the correct mannerisms others use there in order to show respect. This will help a lot if they put in the time and the effort to study before going to this country. They won't get burnt out as easy, and they will be very enthusiastic about opening a business in this new place. When introducing a new business to a foreign land, the business itself needs to be well-rounded in its knowledge of other cultures in order to avoid offending anybody. People love a business who cares, and it is very important to not only prepare employees for their new adventure, but also to create a brand and image that reflects its respect for other cultures. Thank you.